Greetings to my fellow Voyagers. It's been a minute, and if you're just joining us for the first time, welcome to another episode of the UX Voyager, where we think and talk about everyday experience of people interacting with digital products. I am Mubarak, the cruiser of this voyage, and today we are talking about one of the most love-hate relationships in product development: product requirements documents, or simply put, PRDs. If you ever worked in a digital technology company, or you're a tech bro or tech sis, you must have likely had an encounter with PRDs. Some PRDs we have opened and we thank God we understood and delivered, while some we have opened as well and closed it because it is incomprehensible or too long or more confusing. Been there, done that. So let's look at PRDs. God willing, I don't bust some bubbles. And if we talk about AI-generated PRDs, if they are for better or worse. So what are PRDs? Do you need one to work, or why should we even care? I will illustrate it with building a house. When I'm talking about building a house, I'm not talking about houses in some parts of Lagos. But when you want to build a house, there's usually a blueprint that is like a binding contract among architects, structural engineers, developers, and the owner of the house, so they can stick to the plan of what they are building and why they are building it. So, like I said, you can see that this is not really applicable to some of the buildings in Lagos. So for a tech product or similar, a product requirement document is like a blueprint for what you are building and why. So it is treated like a contract between product management, design, engineering, and business stakeholders, whoever is in the team. And this document should provide answers to fundamental questions. What is the problem the company is solving, for whom, and what would success be like? At best, it is very good for mapping out, so it tells us where we are going and how we get there. Because I found myself saying sometimes in the middle of the project, but I thought we are building, and at that point, no, it's already too late. Oh, I cannot turn back. Oh, sure, you feel me? Yeah. To avoid this, then you need to have a PRD that contains the details of the scope and constraints of the project. Why this is important, it is because it saves time and headache. The first, product thinking. Writing a good PRD requires you to deeply understand your users. You can now clearly articulate the problem you're solving and make tough decisions about what is in scope and what is not. Now, I'm reading about PMs creating overly detailed PRDs that is too long to read from other members of the team, and some other members of the team just slap it on Notebook LM and work continues. So this is a fire on the mountain, and nobody seems to be on the run, because this type of practice removes the core reason for having a PRD. And that is why some of these things fail, because in a bid to move faster, we jeopardize clarity and create confusion. And this brings me to some of the misconceptions about PRDs. Sometimes we think the longer the PRD, the better. Is it the PM or product team fault that the PRD is maybe about 25 pages? No. It is also not the fault of the engineers that don't read. So, but there could be a fault when this lengthy page causes confusion or do not give clarity. Another mistake we often make is that PRDs are just for product managers. Well, this is where things get sweeter for us, because we designers and engineers, we wait for the product manager to provide us with a document so we can hold them accountable for it. We design according to that document, then hand off to engineer. Then engineer now changes the whole thing, maybe due to what is feasible, what is not, and some trade-offs that were not mentioned in the PRD. So most times the engineers will come back and say certain things were impossible, or maybe a better option would be I'm not doing again. But for designers, I've always said that anything is most likely possible in as much as we have to draw it. But that would mean we are not caring about the experience, which is the major cocoa of what they call design. So the best test of PRDs are the ones that were done together, a joint work that will benefit from different perspective. Everybody go talk their own. Because when only PMs write PRDs, you tend to build product that might be good to the ear or maybe fine in the eyes, but practically impossible to design or build. So there's also another craze of PRD specifying how to build something. I believe this is wrong because PRDs only define what and why. It is the design and engineering job to now say, okay, this is how we can achieve this what and why. And I've seen some ambiguous PRD that starts dictating specific UI patterns or architecture. If you're writing a PRD and you are doing that, just continue to the design and engineering work. Okay? They'll give you Figma login, they'll give you VS Code and all the database or anything you need. So you'll be fine, eh? One common problem is that when a PRD is done, it cannot be changed. While this is a fat lie, I understand the challenge of having to have done a lot of stuff and updating it several times. Sometimes it gets very tiring because these PMs they don't want to change anything. It's also like me. Once I design and we have to change one, two, three, it starts to get boring. But we have to do what we have to do. I mean, willingly or unwillingly. So the truth is that PRD should change as the team evolves, as we learn more about the problem, and the best way to learn is actually to keep going. And I remember I said I'll come back to the AI-generated PRDs because I've seen arguments that that is based on, even if it is AI generated, as long as it is well prompted and detailed, we are good to go. So as the defense for the AI council, as the defense council for AI rather, AI can definitely help with some structure and formatting. You can take these messy notes from research, stakeholder interviews, help you organize everything to make it more comprehensive. And it can even suggest questions that you might have missed, or help you think through use cases like edge use cases. But also standing in for the prosecuting counsel. PRDs are not just documents; they are somewhat some thinking and referencing tool. And the value of writing one comes from mental work of battling trade-offs, understanding user needs, making critical decisions, and you should not outsource that thinking to AI. I won't lie, in front of God and man, I've generated PRDs with AI that look detailed and tantalizing at first glance. But when you go deeper, daddy, they are often generic. Sometimes they lack context, sometimes nuances are lost, and it is just shallow, connecting user needs and business objective. You think you have done something big, but and where this is really bad is that these AI generated PDFs can, give you a false confidence because you would have used polished document to gas up the stakeholders. So the stakeholders have high assumptions. You generated from PRDs of false assumptions. So everybody is now being raised on assumptions. Everybody is now hyper on assumptions. And we know where we end it. Domain. So use AI to help you organize your thoughts. I've always emphasized this. Data, and maybe if you are not so English savvy, for example, we will not hear English like that. You can use it to improve your writing, but don't use it to do thinking. Because it is because you can think you were given the job in the first place. So this is where I said I might bust some bubbles, and I know building products is not based on my thinking universally. But I think and I believe that UX designers and engineers should absolutely be involved when writing PRDs. In my company, during conceptualization, we all have meetings, and this is how we do it. So, not necessarily that I will be the primary author. Obviously, the product manager is the primary author. But as active contributors, we all give our suggestions, we all talk, we all, fight back and forth about it. Because from the UX design side, I'll be fighting for the user needs better than anyone, and we know what is actually usable. Ours just sound good in the air, and our input on user flows, accessibility requirements, and all those things, it matters. Very, very crucial. For the deputy gods on the team, which are the engineers, they understand what is technically feasible. Well, even some of them might just be lazy and don't want to stress, so maybe they are dodging work, but they also know what is going to be expensive to build and what is hard to maintain. So we can avoid the fight that happens when product guy says we need this and engineers, the package Yorisha says work. That's impossible. So 1 minute silence to all the great things engineers have said impossible to, or maybe if we have built it, it would have been a disaster. Like I was saying, the collaboration of product, design, engineering, and the creation of PRD is second to jollof rice and dodo because product brings clarity and context. Design brings user side of things, and engineering brings that reality check. So make everybody know their place before engineer will tell PM, come and write the code now. Or designer will tell PM, don't worry, I'll give you edit access on Figma. And one more last addition. Most PRDs focus too much on features. And there's not enough outcomes. So they will tell you what to build, but not why it matters or how you know if it works. And I said in the beginning of my podcast that you also need to know what success is like for this particular thing you're building. And moving forward, there are some non-negotiables when writing PRDs. I would say start with the problem. Start with the problem, not solution. Spend more time explaining your why and why this matters than what you're building. Yeah. Include actual user research data. Don't just make assumptions about users. Do research. Some of these AI tools already can even help you with research. So, how will you measure success? If you actually solve the problem, what does success look like? What are you building? Gone. Not the face. Oh, we're in face this, face that. We are in no. And everyone should know where there are trade-offs. Make this trade-off very visible. Update the documents from time to time. And finally, like I said, if you're using AI tools, just use it to enhance your thinking. Do not let it replace your thinking for you. Let AI help with the structure, clarity, but you see that strategic insight and understanding users. Another person will not do your job for you. That's your job. And in product development, when PRD is done, they should be, or they are, one of the most valuable assets you can have. And because it's like a constitution, they kind of establish clarity, they help collaboration, and also prevent some costly or expensive misunderstandings. You be PMO, you be designer, you be engineer, you have a role in you have a role in the you have a role to play in making PRDs better. Don't just complain about bad requirements. Contribute to better ones. Thank you for joining me today on today's Voyage. I still remain your host, Mubarak Babajide, and see you on the next one.